Welcome to the Accounting for You podcast, brought to you by the accounting firm of Adkins and Reynolds CPAs. This podcast is designed to provide relevant tax and accounting information to help you and your business succeed. If you enjoy listening in, please like and subscribe to our channel. Now, on to the show. All right, well, welcome back to the Accounting for You podcast. It's good to have you back for another episode. Today, we are talking about keeping up with your accounting, because how many clients do you have that can't keep up with their bookwork?
A lot.
It's a common thing that we hear. People they fall behind with their accounting or their bookkeeping. They can't keep things up. Well, we want to kind of help you, maybe give you some a roadmap on how to keep up with your bookwork so it doesn't become such a big problem for you. I would say we want to help you overcome the overwhelm of business bookkeeping.
Absolutely.
You like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. We're creative. We can be creative. We're accountants. We can be creative. So there you go. All right. Well, first off, depending on how big your business is may mean how much record keeping you have. I know that seems kind of obvious, but the important thing is you don't need the top end accounting system if you're maybe a solo entrepreneur with a side business. You don't need to buy the $5,000 a year accounting software, right?
That's absolutely true.
I mean, you may be able to use something like Microsoft Excel, and for something smaller like that, I mean, it's easy to set up, it's easy to operate, and it's low cost. And we could obviously help you set one of those up if necessary. But we're going to focus this more on maybe small business, medium-sized businesses where you're going to need some kind of accounting software. So kind of keep that in mind with all this. But again, if you're a small business, some of this may not apply to you because maybe you don't need those big accounting packages.
And we find a lot of our smaller businesses, the owner is actually doing the bookkeeping because it's too much of an expense to have their own bookkeeper. So certainly in that case, there's an issue there with taking time to do the bookkeeping and not running the business itself.
Right. All right. So first, maybe stop on the roadmap to straightening up your books and getting yourself to being a better bookkeeper. First off is use accounting software that works for you. There's so many options out there. There's mobile, internet-based services. There's you can have a mobile app for them. There's desktop type services. Probably the one big, like kind of up and coming, and the one that seems to be most people kind of gravitating toward right now are going to be your internet-based online accounting softwares. And there's ones out there for QuickBooks, Xero, Wave. I think there's one called FreshBooks. There's a bunch of them out there. And I'm sure I've forgotten several, and if you use them, that's great. There's a bunch out there. So there's, and all of them have different options and different services, and some are free and some cost, and they all have different levels. Okay, but generally, they kind of all operate about the same. They give you the mobile access on an internet browser, or a lot of them will have a mobile app. For instance, QuickBooks Online, I know, has a mobile app that you can use. It's a little choked down in what it works, and what features it has. But at least if you're out in the field, maybe you could run an invoice immediately, and there's a lot of automation that it can do for you. But a lot of people are using the the online stuff, and that works good for everybody because, hey, it gives us the accountants almost immediate access to your books, whereas the old standard desktop stuff doesn't.
Yes, one of the things we like to do when we have the online access is we like to go in throughout the year and help the client make adjustments to their books. Again, back to one of our previous podcasts of if your books are in good shape, you have a much clearer picture of where you're at. And with the online products, we have the ability to go in and help the client out anytime it's necessary.
Right, and it gives us, like, if they're stuck having a problem with an invoice or something, we can get right in there and help them right away. So there's some benefit to that using maybe the online versus the desktop software. And as far as desktop software, there's all kinds of those. There's QuickBooks Desktop, I think Sage. There's probably a bunch of others I'm not even thinking about. But anyways, those are all there. They're all can be used. We here support all of them, with clients, so not a big deal. But the most important thing is to use something that works for you, because there's no point in buying a software subscription or buying a desktop product if you're not going to use it. If you're going to be on a desktop type install, make sure it's on a computer you use regularly. I know that seems silly, but don't put it on the laptop that stays in the closet. You know what I mean?
Right.
You've got to keep up with it, because the whole point of bookkeeping, we're not talking rocket science here, people. Okay. This is just bookkeeping. The most important thing is habit with bookkeeping, getting yourself on a schedule, spending that time, getting in there, getting in your books, writing your bill, writing checks for your bills, recording your income, reconciling your bank accounts. If you don't keep up with it, what happens?
It will be an absolute pain to do an entire year at the end of the year if you wait. And again, as we've talked about, you have no idea where your business is really at.
All right. So, if you're not keeping up with it, then you end up getting all your receipts put together in a garbage bag and dropping off at your accountant's office, and they will not necessarily be happy to see you if that happens.
Probably not.
All right. So the next big thing that we could talk about, when we just talked about it here, is stay on top of your books, okay? It's vital to keep them up to date. All right. Another benefit of these online accounting softwares is what the QuickBooks calls it bank feeds, but bank filtering. But basically, a lot of this is automating some of the work for you, where actually your accounting software is linking to your online banking feed and pulling in these transactions. And maybe all you have to do is, categorize it into your chart of accounts. If you are an older school type bookkeeper where you're actually, running the books, you're actually putting in all your checks, you're putting in your deposits, it will actually match those up and help you reconcile your books.
And we can certainly help with getting all of that set up to where certain rules are in place that makes that feed much smoother, and there'll be a lot less work involved in it.
Right, because with this technology, it memorizes transactions and learns, let's say, with rules that you can set up to help automate some of your bookkeeping. Because, if you're let's say a construction guy, you don't want to be sitting there for 3 hours a day keeping up with your receipts and your books and making sure your checking accounts, reconcile, especially if you're a smaller guy and don't have a bookkeeper. So these rules and things kind of help you, get your books done without, at least a little less pain. So,
and again, the more time that you can work on your business instead of your bookkeeping, the better for your business.
Yeah. All right. So what happens if you just don't have the time yourself as the business owner? You've grown, your business has grown. You were, let's say, a small time, let's go with a chiropractor. You're a small time chiropractor. You're doing the client work, you're doing the billing, you're doing the bookkeeping. Well, you've grown your business to where you can't handle it all. So you've got several options. First option I think most people go to is, I'm going to hire an employee. I'm going to hire me a bookkeeper, and that way they can do all the book work, and I'm going to remove myself. Now, sounds like a great idea, but let's keep in mind, if you hire yourself a bookkeeper, you've got a whole payroll, or you've got you've got somebody on payroll, and you've got to make sure that you can pay them. Right.
You have payroll taxes, other assorted costs that come with having that extra employee.
Right. And maybe they're only going to be working 10 hours a week on your bookkeeping. So maybe you can hire them part-time, but if you hire them full-time, then they've got other, time maybe that's not used. But another thing to keep in mind is, especially if you've been doing the bookkeeping yourself as the business owner and now you bring someone else in to do it, you are going to have the thought of, I don't have to touch this stuff ever again. And that's a real bad idea, because you can't trust you can't trust your business to someone else, especially if you've been a solo guy, okay? Completely, without some kind of oversight on your part. Because if you give that bookkeeper the opportunity to, write checks and do bank reconciliations, what happens normally? Well, not normally, sometimes, let's say.
Well, there's an opportunity there, for things to happen that shouldn't happen without any supervision. But there's also the aspect of every business is different. This person will need to be trained. That's part of the whole process. But as a business owner, it's always good to have some involvement and watch over things.
Right. So you can't just throw them the keys and walk away. Okay.
Absolutely.
So they need some oversight in that. Okay. So let's say your business is even bigger. What's your options? Your options are, well, maybe you need a full-time bookkeeper or a full-time accounting staff even. Okay. So that can bring problems. The third and final option, and I think maybe a stopgap with all of this, is actually utilizing the services of an accountant or a bookkeeper themselves. We offer these services here in our firm, but we can other accountants and bookkeepers, they can offer varied services, but a lot of times we can just kind of fill the gap and give you back office support to help with your bookkeeping needs. Maybe it's going through those bank feeds and filtering them out to keeping that in line to keep your books up to date. Maybe it's just reconciling your bank accounts every month. Maybe it's making sure your sales tax and payroll taxes are filed properly and on time, or even upwards of doing your payroll or different things like that. There's a lot of options that, us as a service provider can provide, and other accountants and bookkeepers out there can do similar services. I think we're the best, but that's just because I'm biased in that. But it's just, it's something to keep in mind. The benefit of hiring it out also to a professional is that it's going to be done the right way and in the proper way. And then if you don't have that employee that you're hiring, you're not paying payroll taxes.
Right.
You don't have to deal with the payroll tax returns, and you don't have to deal with keeping a payroll up. So there's something to think about there.
And we provide many different options. There's not one standard bookkeeping package. We provide various options for whatever your needs are. And as Chris mentioned, you're going to be with someone here at our firm that does this maybe even on a daily basis, that has experience in working with multiple clients with different needs, and someone who doesn't need to be trained, doesn't need to be watched over on every transaction. They're professionals that do this for a living, and it's a great service that, again, gives you more time to work on building your business.
Right. And then finally, if you're in your business has grown so much to where it outgrows those services, and maybe you're needing like a CFO or type, you're actually needing someone to really head up an accounting department for you, or be at the 30,000 feet view level for you to help manage your finances of your business. That's the next step in a business would be to hire a CFO or a controller or whatever, you want a title you want to give them. But those can be expensive as well. We're talking probably most CFOs, controllers, and regardless of what business they're in, you're going to want, $70,000, $80,000 plus. I mean, I don't know. The sky's the limit on that, especially what size the business is. So another option is to think of like CFO for hire services. And there's a lot of companies out there that offer CFO for hire services. It's something that we offer where we actually go into your business and become, let's say, your CFO. And that's a neat opportunity for us to provide more services for the client, but it gives them that benefit of, having that role filled, but not having to have a full-time employee and provide them with health insurance and whatnot there. So,
and you get the benefit of the many years of experience that we would have in working with clients versus someone that, again, may need a lot of training, may not be the most experienced, and can be very costly.
Yeah. So if you want to overcome the overwhelm of your business bookkeeping, it's important to, number one, pick an accounting system or software that works for you and, in comparison to the size of your business. If you're really big, you need to stay off the Excel spreadsheets. If you're really small, you need to stay away from the big enterprise type softwares. Okay, pick something that works for you. Number two, use it on a computer or however, but somewhere you're going to use it where you can easily access it, where you don't have to think, oh, I have to get the computer out of the closet to do my bookkeeping today. Keep it somewhere you can use it, and make sure you keep it on a schedule. Keep yourself, moving forward with it, and keep yourself doing it, because if you get behind, it's just going to snowball on you.
Right. And certainly with that software choice, we can assist in guiding you in the direction of what you will need.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then if it gets too large, then you've got the options of hiring bookkeepers, hiring outside accountants, hiring, different things, CFO for hire services, different things like that. So that's kind of a roadmap to maybe help you, give you some options to keep you from getting overwhelmed with your own bookkeeping. So, you got anything else to add to that, Jay?
It's just very important, as we've said, to have a structure and keep up with it. And if you don't feel like you can do that, then certainly we are available to help.
Absolutely. So if you got any questions or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to expand on any of this for you. And otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thank you for taking time today to listen to our podcast. We appreciate listeners like you and ask that if you enjoy what you hear, please like and subscribe to our channel to ensure you receive the latest episodes as soon as they come out. If you have any questions about the topic we discussed today or would like more information on becoming a client, please do not hesitate to contact our office by visiting arcpas.com or theaccountingpodcast.com.